Welcome back to The Rise. Our first segment is about a Centennial-based band called Tunnels.
My name's Jackson McCarowitz, and I play guitar and do some production sometimes.
My name is Max. I play drums and percussion, and that's about it.
My name's Lucas Martin. I play guitar, sometimes play bass. I sing all the time, and sometimes I do the sampler.
So we started off with just me and Emmy, and then we had talked about starting a band because we both really liked Arcade Fire, which if you listen to our music now, it makes no sense, but the influence is there. And she was like, can my little brother play with us? And I was kind of iffy on it because I was I can play drums, but he's so much better than me, it's not even funny. And then eventually me and Buechner were in here jamming on one of the off days. We took the drum kit from the band room, and Lucas came and he was like, oh, can I please play bass with you guys? And so that's kind of how we started. I took him to 10 drum, and that was what convinced him to join.
So, our first few practices were actually at my house first. And basically Jackson would just come up with a guitar part. Usually it was something surf rock related. It wasn't really our style at all.
I remember the early practices to be really, really fun because we were trying to figure out who we wanted to be. And we were all coming with a lot of inspiration, but we don't listen to the same music that we do back then. So our sound sounded a lot, I would say a lot different. We're taking a lot more inspiration from Interpol and the Yeah Yeah Yeahs. I remember Y Control was a really big song for me back then.
So our first show was, I think, very nerve-wracking, and for a while we didn't know actually how we got the show, other than just someone was we heard about your band, which I don't know how, because we didn't really know any other bands, but it was on someone's back porch, and there was a fan going over whatever in a backyard, and I remember just thinking the first song I was so nervous, and then after that it clicked, and it was just no nerves anymore, minus my amp kind of
exploded.
It basically exploded, yeah.
In 2025 we hope to possibly record some new songs. We have a lot of new ideas that we're kind of solidifying right now, and some brand new ones that we just made too. So hopefully, I know Jackson will have access to a really cool studio at Belmont after this school year, and so hopefully over the summer we can just record some songs and try out some new ideas, and it should be really fun.
I think I would describe our music as kind of experimental and dissonant, but also having moments of beauty. There's a few songs where we have very pretty passages. I think very hypnotic is another word I would use. I like to kind of think of people closing their eyes and swaying to some songs,
Some people also say our music is very scary and ominous, which is funny.
I think we ride this cool line between being very visceral and harsh, and I mean people have said that our shows are just very, very loud, and that our music is just very, very, very loud. And so we kind of ride that line between being very brutal and being very visceral and being very harsh, and sometimes even scary, which I don't know if I agree with. I'd say that I think we're nice people, but also I'm not the one who's experiencing senility from their point of view, which might be scary. And then I think we also can delve into these really beautiful moments, and I think a song like Lotus does that, where it's we have harsh, really weird experimental noise at the beginning, and then it's this really beautiful, pretty passage. And I think that's something that we're really good at, is switching from biting your face off with the sound to here's a flower.
Hello guys, I'm Len Braun here with CSPN. I'm here with
Max Brosmer.
I just want to first say congratulations on being named to play in the East-West Shrine Bowl later this month. How does it feel to know that you get the chance to play in such a prestigious bowl game like that?
It's pretty cool. It's an honor to play in that bowl game, especially for a great cause too, like the Shriners Hospital. I'm excited too. We have a couple players from Minnesota coming to play too. So it's a good opportunity to play one more game with them and practice one more week with them, but also meet new people, compete with new people, and put on the best show you can.
Now let's go to Centennial. You spent 4 years here. What was your fondest memory of playing football here at Centennial?
I would say when we beat Lanier in the playoffs. I think that was my junior year. They were coming in ranked pretty highly, and it was a battle of two really good quarterbacks. We had Zach Calzada at Lanier, and I was here, and we were battling our whole careers together. We trained together at that point, and he came into our house and beat him up pretty good. So that was a very cool feeling.
What was the recruitment process like coming out of high school?
It was slower for me. I wasn't a highly recruited prospect, and so I got interest from Ivy Leagues, a couple small FCS schools out west. I had the preferred walk-on opportunities at bigger schools, but they weren't full scholarship. And New Hampshire came in late my senior year. And so, once that kind of, got the ball rolling for me, I kind of stuck with my gut and went to New Hampshire.
And why was New Hampshire the perfect fit for you, also football-wise and academically?
I would say number one is the people. So I think my suggestion and my advice for any freshman going into college or any senior going into college to be a freshman is to follow your gut with the right people. Schools are schools. I think most academic universities and colleges, everybody has their fair share of what they do best. And New Hampshire is the people, and I felt home pretty quickly there after one visit actually, and then I got back and I was like, I'm coming to New Hampshire. I'm all in. And then the second thing that solidified my decision there was I injured my knee my last game my senior year here. And I was going to be out for 5 or 6 months, and they still kept my commitment and my scholarship. So I knew I chose the right place just because of they stuck to their word and they were loyal.
And then after a strong FCS career, being the semifinalist for the Walter Payton Award, just like the Heisman for FCS, what made you make the switch to a storied program like Minnesota?
So I didn't want to leave New Hampshire. I told you I went there because of the people, and that's where I felt like home. But the reason I left was because I felt I was getting too comfortable there. I had one more year left there, and I don't think that I would have challenged myself as much as I did if I had transferred. And so I had the full support of my New Hampshire staff and my team there to enter the portal and see what opportunities came up. In Minnesota, it was funny how much Minnesota reminded me of New Hampshire. It's not the typical like blue blood program. It's a gritty program that prioritizes the people over money. And I chose the people, and the people found me, and I found the people at Minnesota, and I felt like home there.
My favorite thing about Orchestra is the music that we play. I've always loved music, and it feels amazing to be able to create that with my fellow students and my friends.
I decided to stay in Orchestra the past 4 years because I love my instrument and I love playing the cello, and the connections I made were truly amazing.
My favorite thing about Ms. Jonas is her connection with the students. She really puts in the effort to get to know us as individuals.
Ms. Jonas, the orchestra director, she's an amazing person, she's an amazing musician, and you can learn so much from her.
Playing harder music has helped me adapt and helped me learn more about music and my instrument.
Being in orchestra, you can achieve so many things.
Highlighting Georgia Hipp, our next package is about our Centennial Career Tech Student of the Year.
My name is Georgia Hipp, and I received the CTAE Student of the Year award. I am currently taking the computer science pathways in the audio, visual, technology, and film pathway. My favorite parts about the computer science pathway is creating code and being able to collaborate with my classmates while creating code and just working together while programming. And my favorite part about my film class is probably post-production when I'm editing and putting all the clips together to see the final product. My accomplishments in my film class is I have been a part of a couple top placing awards during the STN competitions, so that has been really cool to be part of. One piece of advice I would give to freshman students trying to balance schoolwork is have a place to do your schoolwork, but also make sure you have time for yourself and time to hang out with friends and do other fun activities.
My name is Mr. Buechner and I teach AV Tech. I believe that Georgia's deserving of this award for Career Tech Student of the Year because she just exemplifies what teachers are looking for. She shows up ready to work. She always has a good attitude. Like I said before, she's curious and she really just wants to learn and be part of whatever's going on in the classroom. Georgia has thrived in the AV pathway from being, always looking to produce good content and while still learning new things and new software and just really being a great student.
Georgia as a classmate is very creative, she's very hardworking, puts a lot of thought into everything she does, and is just a very great student overall.
Georgia is such a wonderful classmate. She is so encouraging, so helpful, and so positive, and it's just so wonderful to be around her. She is always there to help you, whether that's emotionally or with the project at hand, and she's just such a wonderful person and a wonderful classmate.
Brosmer keeps it!
How have you seen the NIL kind of change the landscape of college football? What do you think of that?
It's pretty crazy. When I transferred, NIL was kind of just starting. Collectives were becoming a new thing, and Minnesota was a little slower to get there. And I think I actually like that a lot. What I talked about prioritizing people over money is Minnesota to a T. We didn't prioritize paying players to stay. People stayed because they loved Minnesota, and they love Minnesota right now. As it changes this year and future years, there'll probably become more regulations and more laws that come out. But the new salary cap and revenue sharing is pretty crazy. People are making a lot of money, generational wealth money that is going to change people's lives forever and their families' lives forever. So I think it's very cool that people get to capitalize on their collegiate experience and their collegiate career as a football player. But I would have to argue there will be more regulations and laws that come out to govern how much money people are making.
You also spend a lot of time on the field with your teammates, but off the field. What are some of your favorite moments with them?
Yeah, so I did something similar from New Hampshire to Minnesota. So in New Hampshire, I brought down my receiving core and some of my tight ends and running backs to Atlanta for a week. And we went to the lake. We did some on-the-field training, off-the-field training, hung out at the house. I housed them all at my house. And that was an amazing experience just to create chemistry within that group. And when I got to Minnesota, I was like, this is something that I want to do. Since I'm only here for a year, I'm going to need to get as much help as possible and create the strongest bonds possible. And so I did the same thing, and I brought down 11 people to Atlanta. And I don't live in some mansion. I live in a pretty average house, and housing 11 people, 11 college football players who are not small human beings is pretty difficult. My parents are absolute saints for that, but we went to the lake. We did I took them to a Braves game. We got on the field. I got them all custom Braves jerseys. The cool thing about NIL, what you were talking about earlier, is I was able to cover that for them. And that's what I think the NIL should be used for, is for your team. And to be able to do that for them is so cool. And I think it allowed us to create success in the field this year by, through the bonds that we created on our trip.
You walk off the field, your last collegiate game, big win against Virginia Tech in the Duke's Mayo Bowl Classic. What was that like, walking off the field one last time with a big win?
Very, very cool. I would say the best feeling was knowing that, I was helping to create a winning environment or a win for that game for the guys that were playing their very last game. Not just me, but the rest of the guys. It wasn't a perfect game by any means, but I think that the cool feeling was walking off knowing that we had left our stamp and our legacy on the program that we're leaving behind. And also seeing Coach Fleck get dumped with mayonnaise was pretty funny. He smelled awful after, and I love Duke's Mayo. I'm a huge supporter of Duke's Mayo. I actually have a ton at my house right now from the bowl game. But there's a different smell when someone walks up to you dumped in mayonnaise and tries to give you a hug after the game. It was very cool, though. The Duke's Mayo Bowl did a great job putting on a really cool event, and we had a blast.
What's some advice that you would give to a high school student right now that maybe wants to be in your position and play college sports?
I think the number one thing is is find what you're passionate at, number one. If you're not passionate about something, if you're not passionate about the sport you're playing, if you're not passionate about the subject you're studying in school, I'm not saying don't take your classes seriously, but find something that you're super passionate in and put as much work as you can into it. I think the number one thing that pushes people backward who have a lot of talent is their drive and their work ethic. I think the number one thing in a locker room or in a team setting, in a business setting, is people respect you once you work your butt off. And if you don't love it, it's hard to work your butt off at it, but if you love it, you can put all your time and all your energy into it, get there first and leave last. And that will go miles. That will go a long way for you. And I'm not supposed to be here, and I'm not sure what my future looks like. But I started Centennial here, went to New Hampshire. I got lucky enough to be a starting quarterback in the Big Ten at the University of Minnesota, and that's not because I'm just some talented dude. I work my butt off, and I pride myself in doing that. There's been some luck along the way, and take advantage of any luck that's given to you, and then just go out and have fun with it. Don't take things too seriously. Just go have fun with it.
That's it for this episode of The Rise. As always, go Knights!